can join the CS video and audio. And I'm going to check my LinkedIn just to be doubly sure. So if somebody is already here, please let us know, say a hi, and we will get started in just a few seconds. All right. So welcome viewers. This is the session on building personal brand lessons from Beerbiceps and Swiggy. Let me first introduce myself and then my awesome guest, and I'm so excited to be talking to her. But we'll keep the best for the last. I am Meera Remani. I am an executive and leadership coach. And this topic about personal branding is so close to my heart. I personally am a student of personal branding. I tried improving my skills on that front for myself, but it's also essential for the leaders I coach. Those of you who know me know that I work as a leadership coach. My intention is to make them be known as the best in class, to have the impact, influence, income, etc. that they desire. And the one thing that has stood out time and time again over the hundreds of leaders I've coached is the need of a personal brand. Because you might be doing your great work, you might be an expert in your field, but if people don't associate you, don't have a personal brand that rings in their mind when they think about you, you're leaving a lot of gold on the table. So that is why personal branding is is an essential component of my leadership and executive coaching. Now, everybody wants it, everybody knows it's important, but nobody knows how to go about creating a personal brand that truly works for you and your goals. But don't worry, that's what today's session is about. What can you expect from today's session? First of all, me and Shweta are going to be exploring certain brands that are, that people consider their favorites, so we can take lessons and discover their secrets. Then we're going to talk about practical steps that you can take starting today to build and excel with your personal brand. And then we'll have a Q&A in between, and Q&A at the end, so you can ask any questions. Now, as I promised, we're coming to the best part. Shweta Mani. Shweta is a fellow coach. She's a narrative strategist. She is a fellow IM alumna, and she is a dear friend, like I said, who I followed for a long number of years. And when it's time for us to think about a collaboration, and we were thinking about it, this whole topic of personal branding came up loud and clear. It was a no-brainer. So I'm delighted to bring Shweta on board. Shweta, kindly introduce yourself, please.
Hey Meera, thanks for having me. And I can't see any of the viewers, but I'm going to say hello, everybody. Good evening. It's evening in India. I don't know where all of you are signing up from. Uh, Meera, thanks for having me today. I do want to talk a little bit about how we came about picking personal brands as a topic. But first, a little bit about what I do. As Meera pointed out, I'm a narrative strategist. What does narrative strategy really mean? All of us have a story. Be it, mostly, I work with a lot of businesses and I work with leaders. And every business or every brand or every product has a story, something that makes them unique. It's their X factor. And that is what most businesses and brands and leaders struggle to articulate. This is where I come in. I have a 360-degree approach by which I help them articulate their core X factor. That is what I do as a narrative strategist. If you're a business, I also, that comes under the domain of communication strategy. I also help roll that out for the rest of the organization, right? And if you're a leader, that obviously means we build very, very specific coaching skill sets around it. You probably need to change a few things to be able to be true to your personal brand. And I coach you around that as well. So this is what I do. Coming back to what we do here today, personal branding is obviously very, very important because just like Meera, I'm a student of personal branding myself. I am growing in that journey myself. And what I like to believe about personal branding, and I think Meera will agree with me, is that we all have a personal brand, whether we like it or not. As people are always, all of us have a personal brand. It's basically whatever people are talking about you when you're not in a room, that is your personal brand. Now, you can either consciously shape it for yourself or you can let it be shaped for you by other people. And that is where the whole active role of personal branding comes in, right? Uh, and obviously, as an entrepreneur, it's very, very important that I control my personal brand. That is how I got interested. And being a narrative strategist, to me, personal branding is all about the words. It's about what words do people use to describe me and what words do people use to describe my clients, right? So that's what I think is, that's how I got into the idea of talking about personal branding and how that relates to what I do. What do you think is personal branding, Meera?
Absolutely agree with that statement of my ex boss, Jeff Bezos, who says, "What do people talk about you when you're not in the room?" I used to work for Amazon, by the way. So essentially, that's that, right? A lot of the leaders I work with, I keep reminding them that, that once in a year exercise where there are decision makers, key decision makers, sitting across that metaphorical round table saying who gets promoted, those key decisions that will impact the trajectory of your career. What do they think about you? Will the majority raise their hands in your favor? That is what the personal brand can do for you. So essentially, it is just that, right? Do you have a striking personal brand? And also agree with you, Shweta, when you say that everybody has a brand, whether you know it or not, whether you're intentional about it or not. And given that a lot of people in our audience are ambitious leaders, it's important that we be intentional about that and not be haphazard or careless. And this is not to make people scared. This is just to show you and remind each other that there is so much power, there is so much brilliance that we can unfurl. So yes, I'm a fan of this topic, Shweta.
Okay. So, as we go ahead, before we start, one of the things that I like to talk about personal branding, I look at personal branding as a set of words that people use to describe you, either in your presence or in your absence. They may be both personal or professional. What do you think is my personal brand, Meera?
I like that question. We're getting raw and vulnerable here. Shweta, I mean, I have always admired you for being authentic. What's the word I would use? You speak your mind, right? That takes a lot of courage. But your secret sauce is that articulation power, right? You're very articulative in addition to speaking your mind. So you put it across in a very powerful way. Now, as a coach, when you do that for your clients, I can only imagine the kind of transformations you will enable them to have. So obviously that's like the banner for me. Of course, then the storytelling aspect comes in, then the fact that you have such tremendous experience in corporates, in startups. So you have quite a strong brand going for you in my mind, Shweta.
Thank you so much, Meera.
You're very welcome.
And
What about me?
so for me, I've obviously gotten to know you over the last year. And one thing that strikes me, obviously, the first Meera equal to coach, right? So you obviously build a very, very strong ownership of the word coach. And as I see you up close, I also associate you with confidence. You're extremely confident. And other thing I like, I think that is very unique to you in your personal brand is transnational in some way. I think people can't box you that you belong here or you belong there. You could be, you're very global, I think. So I think those would be the words I would use to describe you.
Yeah.
Coach, confident, global, right? Those would be the top words that come to mind.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that description. Thank you, Shweta. Now, I want to hear
Yeah.
from our audience here, and I'm looking at my phone because I want to see what's coming up on LinkedIn. Folks, what are the one or two words you associate with yourself? Because this is going to be key to the next segment of what we're going to talk about, where we get practical about your personal brand. What are the 2 to 3 traits you associate with yourself? And what others have told you about you? What are the strengths that you have as a leader? So a lot of people are in the live when I see that on LinkedIn. So folks, please just comment below the live what words come up for you. So comment what are the 2 to 3 words that people associate with you. Okay. Shraddha, do you want to give some examples?
Of what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Like some,
Um, So when you're having when you're getting together with drinks or with
Mm,
colleagues in a room, and you're talking about somebody not there, you will say, "Hey, this person's
mm,
lazy. This person's political. This person's competent. This person's a subject matter expert. I go to them to know about topic X.
yeah,
They are dedicated." So those are a bunch of adjectives that people use to describe you. But there are also, you also want to be known for a particular subject, right? So, hey, person X is equal to, hey, marketing guru, or person Y is equal to, like I said, coach for you, right?
mm,
So, what are the words that you want people to associate with you? They would fall into two categories. One is obviously your core professional, skill based, and second is what adjectives are they using for you, right? Because
absolutely.
the adjectives are also going to define how they feel about you and how they feel about working with you, right?
Right, right. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Shweta, because a lot of people are sharing words that they associate with themselves, loving what's coming up. So thank you, folks. I've heard from Amal, Aradhana, Aarti, Himabindu, objective, creative, problem solver, cool stuff. I'm going to show a few of them. Amazing stuff. And we have some fellow IIM alumni joining us. So glad to see some from the community as well, including Paromita. Hi, Paro. Awesome stuff. Folks, keep it coming. I'm gonna highlight a few more. So you are inspiring us and each other with the kind of word associations people have of you, or what do you want to be known as. So thank you so much. Shweta, I wanted to take it up a notch further, right? We talked about now 2 to 3 associations people have. Let's get to the heart of today's conversations. How do we define branding? How do we put a structure around this so it's easier for us to relate to?
Sure. Do you want to share your?
Yeah, here we go.
You've shared
Can
it
you see
already.
that? Yeah, can you see that?
Um, so no, I'm not able to see what you've shared. Oh, I'll have to probably maximize my screen for that. Yeah.
Can
Yeah,
everybody
I can.
see the slide?
I
Can
can.
you?
I can. I can now. I
Okay.
can now. Okay. So great. To put context to this whole framework, this is something that Meera and I came up with. We were looking for what are the dimensions of a great brand, right? And we looked at a bunch of brands and we said, what is common across these brands, and what do they usually have? And some of these are obviously a framework we've developed. So it would be wonderful to hear from all of you whether you agree with these factors, you think there should be something more, there should be something less, open to discussion. But between us, this is what we came upon with as the top 6 things that define a great brand. And we kept it open because a brand is a brand, a personal brand or a corporate one or a business one. They both fit these 6 criteria. The first is clarity. Clarity, as we already discussed, if people have across a spectrum of people, um, if you ask whoever a set of people, people should use the same 2 or 3 words to describe you, or broadly the same 2 or 3 words that mean the same things, right? So that's a very clear personal brand. If different groups of people have different words to describe you, it's a little bit of a hazy brand there, right? So three or 4 words. You don't want too much more than that, and that's true for a company brand as well. Across spectrums of people, what are the top 2 or 3 words that people use to describe you? To be a brand, you also need to be a little bit unique, right? Otherwise, you'd be one in a sea of 100,000 black balls or black umbrellas. To be memorable, you have to be able to stand out, and therefore that combination of words about you has to be somewhat unique to you, right? As a business, as a person. So what makes you unique and different? Articulating that's important. That's an important part of your personal brand. Consistency, and this is where personal branding becomes really hard, is do you show up the same way over and over again? Are those 3 words consistently showing up across situations and across meetings and across people, right? Across time, right? Uh, to become a brand, you need time and you need consistency. And a lot of us, including myself, struggle with consistency in building that personal brand, right? Um, the fourth dimension is trust. Trust is a great brand is one that you want to do business with because you know they're going to deliver whatever it is that they're promising to do, right? You need to trust them to do what you expect them to do. That's an important factor of a brand. The fifth is excellence. Excellence is you can be really unique about something useless. You know, you could be brilliant in, I don't know, useless to a corporate audience would be maybe someone who does cartwheels is brilliantly unique at doing cartwheels. But to me, as a corporate leader, it may or may not have value. So, is this person excellent at something the customer values, right? So excellence is an important factor in a brand. And finally, likability. This one, Meera and I sparred a little bit on because there are great brands we know of that are not always likable. But I think the important part is that for the people who consume that brand, they are likable. They trust them and they like them. That's why they consume them, right? So these are the six dimensions that make up a great brand. I think that applies, and we'll show how it applies to both a personal brand and a product or a business brand shortly. Uh, anyone has any comments on that? I can't see the chat
Um,
box. Meera, you can
yeah, and, Vikash has asked what you're an expert in, which is excellence, and what value you create may not necessarily be the same and contribute differently to creating a personal brand. Your thoughts?
um, the value you create comes from excellence, right?
I would say that as well. You create value from leaning on to certain expertise and excellence. So for
Yeah.
me, it's not an either or. It comes from one is the source of the other. So Vikash, if that makes sense, great. Otherwise, if we still haven't answered your question, feel free to reframe. Thanks for asking. So Shweta, that's the question that I see right now. Let's. What were you about to say next? Sorry to interrupt the flow.
No, I think now that we've done this, we should now get to the interesting part today, right?
Yeah.
And we should now examine the two brands that we sat and studied. And you picked Beer Biceps, and I picked Swiggy. So, do you want to go first and see how Beer Biceps does on these dimensions, and then I'll talk about Swiggy?
Yeah, I can do that. And folks, do write in the comments, and I'm reading them on the go what your favorite brands are. Now, we decided to go with Beer Biceps and Swiggy. I picked Beer Biceps, and Shweta picked Swiggy. There is an interesting backstory behind me picking up Beer Biceps. So, Beer Biceps, as you may know, many of you may know, he is a social media personality. His real name is Ranveer Allahabadia, and he is a YouTuber, podcaster, so quite a lot of followers, millions of followers on social media. And I happened to chance by his content, I think sometime last year. And ever since, there are certain content pieces that he puts out that I've been following. Now, when we talk about a human brand or even Swiggy as a brand, it's easy for our mind to race into a thing and say, hey, I don't like him, I don't like that. So today, I just want you to, suspend all such judgments for the interest of us just dissecting these brands, right? Let me just help you dissect the Biceps brand, and Shweta will do the Swiggy brand, so you can see how these brands are gaining the kind of followers and building business traction, personal traction, etc. So Beer Biceps came about. I picked that Beer Biceps as a brand to dissect today. I was thinking of Oprah, Shah Rukh Khan, Tata, Ratan Tata, etc. But then I wanted to keep something that's relevant to the audience. A lot of people can relate to, and a pure personal brand. That's why I picked up Beer Biceps. Now, when you put Beer Biceps through this, the dimensions, right? Let's start with clarity. For me, as a consumer of his content, I am very clear as to what he stands for. He's a podcaster. He has, I know what his audience is, mostly young Indians. I'm not a young Indian anymore, but still, I still resonate with that content. The topics he addresses, spirituality, geopolitics, Bollywood, I associate with him with these three aspects, very clear for me. Uniqueness. What I find unique about him is he has the pulling power. He brings in a lot of experts. So he is not the expert on his show and he doesn't do the monologues. He brings in experts who deliver subject matter expertise on that. So that is the uniqueness, because there are a lot of podcasters out there, but they don't have the kind of variety of audience that they bring in. All right, I'm also reading comments as I go. Consistency. I know where to find him. He's on YouTube podcast with a new episode out every few days. So when I'm going for a walk, where I'm about to put dinner together, etc., I can listen to his episodes on the back end. Trust. What I really like about him, and this is something for you leaders, is that he is vulnerable. He is not shy of saying, I don't know about that, or I could be wrong about that. Expert in the show, what is your perspective? Oh, you corrected me on that. Thank you. So he is willing to be vulnerable and say that I don't know everything. So that to me, as an audience member, increases trust in him. Value, the excellence that he delivers is, as an expatriate Indian, I always want to be in tune with the heartbeat of my country, with India. And he brings me so much content about what's happening in India from different perspectives. It's not just left centric or right centric. He brings in different experts who talks from different perspectives. So that for me is valuable when I'm looking into India and I want to have data on India. Likability. Pure and simple, I see myself in him very humbly. He says, or one of the taglines that they have is world's greatest success stories. And that, as a leader, leadership coach, is what I want to create for my clients. And he himself is personally developing himself, in terms of the growth mindset, really taking a awareness into his own blind spots and all of that. So self development is his own thing, and my core bread and butter as well. So for me, the likability factor is very high because I can associate with him. So do you follow Ranveer? Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree with what I said? Would you add something else? Let me know in the comments. And now I'm going to Swiggy and Shweta. Please enlighten us, Shweta.
So, when you and I were discussing and we were shortlisting brands, I think when we wanted a brand that was Indian, right? Uh, and one of the, I think someone said that they like Swiggy, Cotton World, and something else. So yeah, and Swiggy is a young brand. It's come up in front of our eyes in the last decade. Uh, I'm seeing someone say Ayush Shraddha is a phenomenal brand as well. Yeah. Um, but I need to focus on the dimensions. So we wanted to pick a brand that was relevant to today's India. Swiggy is a brand that we've seen get built in front of our eyes. It's come up in the last decade. And personally, I've been a user of Swiggy since pretty much it came into the market, and I continue to use it very, very frequently in pretty much every city I go. So, being it's one of my favorite brands, and so it was sort of a not really a no brainer, but certainly an interesting journey for me to examine them. Um, I do think they come across, they kind of stand out on all of these six dimensions, right? Clarity, when you think of Swiggy, immediately you think of food delivery, you think of convenience, and you think of geo tracking. They have that little app where you can actually physically track the guy, and that was the killer idea, right? It was not a blind box. People were delivering food before them, but with them, you know exactly when the person is going, where they are on the way. So to me, the words there were, like I said, food delivery, convenience. They make my life so much easier, and trackability. I can trace exactly where my food is at any point in time. Uniqueness. When they started this whole idea of tracking, there were other people who were doing food delivery, pizza places, but being able to aggregate that and be able to give it to me from across different restaurants, they were the first ones who did that, and they did that successfully, right? So they did stand out in the crowd. There were individual restaurants doing delivery, but their ability to aggregate that whole space and be able to offer me options in terms of cuisine, in terms of in terms of types of foods, search by food specifically. I feel like a soup today, I can do that, and they crack that for me, right? So they are so absolutely unique. Consistency, they're absolutely consistent every single time, right? I know exactly. I've tried a couple of the other competitor apps, but with Swiggy, when they say the food's gonna be delivered in 45 minutes, it is there in 45 minutes, right? It shows up the exact same way. Obviously the UI UX helps. It's such a familiar UI UX now. I know what to expect from Swiggy, right? So that makes it super consistent for me. And for me, consistency and trust in this particular brand are sort of overlapping, but I trust Swiggy to deliver. It's transparent to me. I know when the person has left, when they're moving, and they're also very transparent as a brand. There was this really funny instance, which also sort of varies into likability, where somebody was caught a Swiggy wearing a Swiggy shirt and going on a horse, and they actually use that, and they said, listen, it's lovely that somebody is doing that for us and we'd like to reward them, but it's not really us. And that was very sweet of them to do that, but they didn't take credit for it. They were just a very simple honest thing, lovely, thank you for it, but it's not us, right? So I trust them to do what they do. Like I said, when I want food, I know the pricing is right. I know they're not going to. It's transparent. I know how much I'm paying. I know when it's going to come. If they say it's a 4.5-star restaurant, I know the food is going to be good. So I do trust them to deliver to the promise. Excellence, they are excellent at what they do. I think many people have tried to do food delivery, but and there are other competitor apps, but I don't think anyone's able to be as reliable and give as much variety and give food delivery in such a short period of time as they can. So they, for me as a consumer, it's excellent value. That's why I keep going back. Value is what keeps bringing you back, right? And likability. And I told you that story. Swiggy, interesting aside, Swiggy has one of the funniest app notifications, right? So it's one of the only apps notifications that I don't switch off because I like to read their notifications every day.
How cool
So
is
it
that?
makes, yeah. So I mean, I don't order from them, but it's just they're always on the top of my mind because I'm always reading their app notifications. And every day when they give me a lunch reminder, it's a slightly different, slightly catchier thing, and I smile when I read it. So that makes them very likable for me, right? So those are the 6 dimensions according to me, and
Wow.
I think Speak does really well. Yeah.
And what a way to remain on top of the customer's mind, right? Because nowadays we are all thinking of, okay, there is so many notifications, there's so much clutter, right? Let me remove apps. And these people are so smart, right? The Swiggy people are so smart and they've made that happen. So a lot of comments here. Let's read out a few. Why I prefer Swiggy, unique as you feel as if it's human. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that speaks to what you said, Shweta. Um, yeah, there's always going to be blind spots. Absolutely. Um, we have something on rear biceps. Thank you for that. There's an interesting question. How do you reconcile between beer biceps being vulnerable about one's lack of knowledge as a leader and excellence in being known for delivering value? So yeah, this is a very strategic point we all need to be aware of, and this is a great question because see, this is not him raising his hands and saying I don't know absolutely anything. He does talk about his perception, his take on certain topics. He doesn't come across as a total newbie or without knowing anything. He obviously has certain topics on which he claims expertise, so he does talk about it, but there are certain new topics he might be getting into. The parallel I would draw is if you're a leader going from department A to department B. Let's say department B is huge, much bigger than department A, and there are elements you may not know. That is where the leader can be vulnerable to the team members. I'm not saying stand in front of a large audience of 500, 5,000 people and say, I don't know that. But in trusted circles, you can come across and say, that is something new for me, educate me. It also builds trust between him or her and their team member, saying that my leader is willing to accept my expertise. So that's how I would look at it. And I hope that helps. Can't see your name, unfortunately, but brilliant point. Uh, awesome. Shweta, what would you like to do? Shall we discuss the next steps that people can personalize, or is there something else you would want to talk about?
I think at this stage, are there any questions we want people to answer around any? Yeah, what else would they add to the list? Any other? We've asked the audience. Yeah, what are their favorite brands? I think people have already mentioned that, right?
Somebody has said
And
that I can correlate to what you said, Shweta. She's a notification strategist. How cool.
yeah, how cool is that? Yeah, well, lovely.
Shweta, I'll
Yeah,
let
so
you.
I think let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. It's already been 30 minutes. Let's go
Yeah,
ahead and
yeah.
let's
In the
talk about.
interest of time, we also want to not, yeah, we want to keep it a little tight and crisp for you. Is there a prioritization among the six dimensions, Shweta? Let's quickly take that question.
Is there a prior? I would think clarity comes first.
Mhm.
Clarity comes first for sure. Because without clarity, you don't really have a brand. Um, the I think to me that would be number one. After that, to be a great brand, you do need to have all the six. But if I were to prioritize the top three, I would go for clarity, consistency, and trust. Right?
Okay.
Those would be my top three. Simply because, and I'll tell you why clarity, because without clarity, you don't really have a brand. Consistency is because unless this reappears over and over again, you don't really have a brand. And without trust, people don't work with you. Right? So
Yeah.
to me, those would be the top three. But all six are really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with clarity being number one. And Neetu says she's attracted to customization too. What's in it for me personally? Absolutely. So Neetu and everybody who has the same question, right? Essentially, these are the six key topics, six key dimensions, and there could be sub dimensions. And depending on your industry combination, you might have a different key dimension. But these are what consistently we've seen across brands. Thanks for the question. Did you want to say anything, Shweta?
So I do think when you say customization, I think the lens that you need to apply to this is all of this is obviously relevant to a particular customer set. Like you said, beer biceps attracts you. I had not really followed him or used him before you spoke to me about it, right? So we are looking at everything from the lens of the target customer, obviously, and everyone has a certain. You have to identify the target customer, of course. So within that target customer, of course, all of this will apply. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you have to customize it for that audience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, folks, in the interest of time, we're going to move to the next core aspect and the last core aspect before we break into question and answer is how do you specifically apply it in your life? Okay, great that you know the dimensions. Great, we have dissected Swiggy and beer biceps, but what is in it for you? Like one of our friends here has asked, what is in it for me? So I'm known for giving three-step framework, so I'll launch it to one here. So, how do you customize this, right? I'm gonna stop sharing the screen so you can see both of us clearly. The first step is connect with your vision. Some of you may want to go the next levels in your career, want to be a CEO, partner, something else, be known as a brand, as a business, whatever your goal is, connect to that, right? I would call it vision because vision is the overarching idea of which goals are, vision broken down are goals, is how I define it. So connect with that really compelling vision of you as let's call it the CEO, right? What are the qualities of that CEO? What are the qualities others admire? What are the qualities that have led him or her to reach that pinnacle of success, as one might call it? What are those two to three qualities? What are those dimensions on which they are trending? That version of you, version 2.0, let's call it. Now, the second step is come to the current point in time and evaluate yourself with a lot of kindness and be objective and see, based on the dimensions that Shweta and Meera discussed, where do I stand today? This is your point A. Where do I stand today on these six dimensions or any other new dimension that I want to think of that is relevant to my career success, my industry, my business success, etc. Whatever your context is, that is your point A. Point B is, of course, the vision, version 2.0 that we talked about. So you want to be really clear, evaluate where you stand today. How do you do that? Do a self evaluation based on the framework we give. You can also ask for feedback from trusted mentors, coaches, advisors, bosses, etc. Right? So you can do both of these, own evaluation and others giving you evaluation. Now, the third step is make the journey from A to B. A lot of us consume information from podcasts, from books, from stuff like that. If there is something that you really liked about this session that brought you to the session, there is an energy, an intention, a dream, a goal that brought you to this session. So that's great. You have that intention. Now honor that intention, honor that vision, and make that journey from A to B. Use the use the guidelines that we have given. We hope that it is helpful for you. But as coaches, we also know, and we have our own coaches who hold us accountable in that journey from A to B. Because in that journey from A to B, we might have lack of clarity, we might have lack of confidence, we are not sure whether we can do that, and we want that accountability to keep us moving on. So if you need that accountability, that clarity, that extra push, a coach is there for you. Shweta and I are both experienced in this context. So reach out to either of us over a DM and we'd be happy to talk to you. Shweta, anything you want to add to this?
I think you've covered it beautifully. I am personally a big believer in taking feedback. And when you take feedback, when you go with the framework, and when you seek clarity, I did this exercise with a friend this morning. Ask for three positive words and one developmental area, right? What can you improve upon, and what are you great at today, right? And similarly, when you're thinking about 2.0, think about what are the three great things you want to be, and on those dimensions, how are you going to move from A to B, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're already good at some of those. Maybe some of these are a developmental area for you. But figure that out, and then if you can do it on your own, fantastic. By consuming content, great. Otherwise, seek out professional help through coaches. They're always there for you. So yeah, but validate your own. I think in one line, validate your own knowledge of what those words are by getting feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So, folks, now it's time for Q&A. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'll put them up for either Shweta and me to talk about it. Meanwhile, I'm just going to show some previous comments while we wait for new comments to come in or questions. Red Bus is a great brand, and that's what one of our users say. One of our audience members say. Shweta says, efficient, articulate, passionate are three words people associate with her. Amazing. That's Srishti. Okay. Now, Himabindu has a question. Very few people have clear cut goals, but most people lack a vision, in my opinion. Many others ape others' goals with respect to career or earning capacity. How does one identify what she wants to work on? Can you please help with this aspect? Do you want to take this, Shweta, or want me to?
I think you're the coach. I'm going to let you take this.
Okay. Himavindu, you've talked to something that I find very core. We need to define what our sense of success is, because otherwise, like you said, we'll be blindly following somebody else's template of what success looks like. And there is a very famous saying, right? You will climb the ladder of success only to know that you climbed up the wrong wall. So the way to doing that is to identify what you want to work on, is understand what your core values are, what you want to experience in life. Like when I became a coach, till then I was working for about 1.5 decades in corporate. By that time, when it came time to pivot my career and I didn't know what I wanted to do, I looked back at the last 15 years and beyond of my life and saw what are the areas that really lit a fire under me. So then it showed that I love working with people directly on matters that are close to the heart and mind, and success really lights me up. So I found what was my core value, and then this is just a very short answer. I do sessions on values and how to find the right career calling, but essentially it is for you to understand, define what success means to you, what values define that success, what values go behind that definition. I hope that helps, Himavindu. If not, please continue asking questions. We will answer here or later in the chat. Shweta, anything to add?
I'll just add my own experience has not been so structured. It's just been through a lot of trial and error, right? You keep. I think Steve Jobs said that keep trying till you find it, right? So as you keep doing it, you say, no, this is not it. But I like this about it, but I don't really like X. So I took a long time to find my calling. It's really through trial and error as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's the other way to go.
Yeah, and exactly. So don't put yourself to high standards of perfection. We all find our trial and error and self doubt and all of that in that coach, in that finding. So it's a very worthwhile pursuit, I would say. We'll just take another 3 or 4 questions and then we'll close for the day. Why that future, also it helps to know why that future outcome is important for you. So I think Vikash is sort of adding on to the point that is important to know that vision and why that is important for you, why that is that, there is this golden circle from Simon Sinek, and I think that speaks to what I said about values to him, a Bindu. Yeah. Vijay Kumar, I think this is also a comment, or it's a question. Design thinking, leading myself, result orientation. Where would above three elements fit in the framework? I don't understand this question. Could you elaborate more? Shweta, do you understand this or
Um,
to take it? Okay, let's ask
these
Vijay.
are all. These are all. I would think these are all probably words that people would use to describe um, themselves. Like if you're a design thinking expert, it should probably be something that gets associated with your name. If you're result oriented, again, it's something that you want people to know about you. Leading myself and others is again a character trait, right? Again, it's something that you want to be known for. So I would put it under the first category of how do you want to be known, right? That's what
Absolutely.
I wouldn't call it dimensions, but these are all fit under words that you want to be known for, right?
Absolutely. Shweta, we have 4 more questions or comments, and I'm going to do a rapid fire on them. So the next one is for
Yeah.
you. Okay.
I can give my own journey. I've been a storyteller only for the last 2 years. I went back to school. I went back to school and I went back to school. I educated myself, but having had 20 years of experience, I had other experience to draw upon. So when I'm writing a business story, I do understand business. I do understand when I'm trying to write marketing content. I've been a marketer, so I know what the customer needs. So you can add value based on your prior experience because you've worn a particular shoe, right? And of course, you then, of course, have to also educate yourself. You also have to uh, make yourself literate in the field. So, yeah, I think those are the two ways that I've done it.
Absolutely. Lean on your strengths and continue to build the rest. And of course,
Yeah.
confidence plays a huge part. Don't wait till perfection, till wait. Don't wait for that perfect moment to set in, isn't it? Right.
Yeah, and that's one of my big learnings as an entrepreneur as well. That get started with what you have. Be honest about what you can do and what you can't do, but get started. Don't wait to become a master because you will become a master by doing. It's a bit of a chicken and egg, right?
Pursuit of excellence is also a very highly admirable skill. Let's really do some rapid rounds, rapid sessions. Clarity as a dimension. What's the role of competition in defining this? And if it's important, how does one benchmark as an individual? See, I love competition because it helps us be better versions of ourselves. We can view at competition either as a threat or as an opportunity. So can we? I mean, I know it's all very easy to say, and when there is competition, it's not very pleasant. But the mindset I have trained myself to approach with it is, what is great about that competition? What about them is working? Can I learn something from that, right? And not just compare, but also develop those skills, or honor the strengths that you already have, and probably they're showcasing their talents in a certain way, and it's also for us to own our talents and showcase that a certain way. So that's how I would look at it. I hope that helps. Hima Bindu says thank you, Hima, and thanks to you, Shweta, as well. Question from Amal Gupta. Shweta, do you want to take it?
Are there specific nuances other than listed for internal brand building? That's your area of competence. Do you want to take it? Like
Uh,
within an organization, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say that these are the six key points within an organization as well. So, what are like when you come to clarity, what are the two or three things you want to be associated with that version 2.0 needs to be associated with? What is your uniqueness, right? And are you consistently showing up, building your network? That is how I would say consistency. Are you showing up at the right places at the right time? Are you having enough one-to-ones with your team members? Are you consistently building a network of stakeholders, seniors outside your company, etc.? Are you building trust in your team and your stakeholders that you can deliver with excellence, right? And are you likable? In the sense that I would use the word empathy. Are you seen as a leader who is approachable, who understands people, who creates bridges rather than burns bridges? So you can modulate these aspects, of course, in a personal context. That is why you use beer biceps. And I hope this helps, Amol. Great question. Now we're going to go to the next, Shweta. Oh, thanks, Vikash. That was a kind word from him. Somebody has asked, does your personal brand need an external champion to promote it? Shweta, you want to take it?
I'm a big believer in you are your own hero. I think the minute you start owning your personal brand, the world will begin to reflect it. It's nice to have an external champion, but it's not necessary.
Absolutely. Start where you are, and the external champions will come. Be your own
Yeah.
champion, right? Yeah. So we are at the end. Thank you for staying with us. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. If you have more questions, keep dropping them in the comments. And if you want us to take an extra session on this or an extended topic, let us know. Shweta and I would love to collaborate anyway. Shweta, anything from you?
No, I think it's been a fascinating and fantastic session, full of energy. And I've loved the audience participation. So thank you for everyone who signed in.
Yeah.
Um, really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Thank you, audience. You've been amazing, and see you next time. Thank you, Shweta.
Thank you.